Werewolves have long been a staple of myth, folklore, and cinema, yet their full narrative and thematic potential often remains untapped. Unlike vampires who get to explore their metaphorical stuff in every conceivable way, having a plethora of narrative variety. They are also treated more seriously in comparison. Could you imagine a Jim Jarmusch werewolf movie? Werewolves are often stuck being a one-trick pony, or wolf. The probably best werewolf movie, An American Werewolf in London, is from 1981. That marks over 40 years without any real contender to argue about being the best werewolf movie. Despite their inherent thematic richness, for example, identity, duality, repression, and the loss of control, werewolf movies seldom rise above surface-level monster stories. And that's a shame in my honest opinion, because werewolves could be so much more. Why does the genre often fall flat, and how could it claw its way to more variety and maybe even cinematic greatness? Let me share some wisdom with you. At its core, the werewolf legend is a powerful metaphor for the tension between human rationality and primal instinct. It's about the struggle to suppress what we are afraid of within ourselves. That's why I don't like it whenever there is a character fully in control of transforming into a werewolf. This takes away the dark, repressed side lurking deep within them. The tragedy, the curse of being damned, the inevitability. Werewolves are at their most intriguing when they grapple with the chaos of losing control, the guilt of leaving a trail of blood and destruction behind, and not being able to stop it. Kinda like the Hulk, who also works best when he's an angry, rampaging monster contrasting the mild-mannered, intelligent Bruce Banner. Transformation into a werewolf is basically emotional repression hitting the fan. Anger, grief, desire, fear, everything that simmers under the surface bursts out. Imagine a story where lycanthropy is a physical manifestation of psychological trauma or suppressed feelings. Movies like Ginger Snaps touch on this with puberty and sexual awakening, but there's so much more that could be explored. Imagine a werewolf movie diving deep into grief, where every full moon is a brutal, messy release of sorrow the protagonist can't control. Few things are as terrifying as the idea of becoming a danger to the people you love. The werewolf's curse, uncontrollable, inevitable, is a perfect metaphor for addiction, mental illness, or any condition where you fear losing yourself. The cyclical nature of the transformation mirrors these recurring battles. Every full moon isn't just a plot device, it's a grim reminder of what you can't escape. The new Wolfman movie hints heavily at the idea of having metaphorical undertones of domestic abuse. At least it looks to me like this from the trailer. The monster uncontrollably coming out. The mother explaining the circumstance to the child as the father being sick, being unable to protect his beloved family from himself. There is potential. Hopefully it sticks the landing. Werewolves live at the intersection of opposites, human and beast, civilized and savage, rational and instinctual. This is gold for stories about identity. Think dissociative identities, gender dysphoria, or even the masks people wear to fit into society. Imagine a protagonist who can only be their authentic self as a wolf, but at the cost of alienating everyone around them. Painful, right? But that's what makes it compelling. Lycanthropy can also symbolize being part of a marginalized group. Imagine a werewolf movie where the curse stands in for being a stranger in a strange land and being treated like shit because of it. Not only cultural displacement, but queerness or being autistic could also provide a theme to empathize with. The transformation becomes a metaphor for what happens when you're forced to suppress who you are to fit in, and the consequences of finally letting it out. The werewolf's monstrous appearance isn't just a horror trope, it's the world's projection of fear onto someone who dares to exist authentically. So if werewolves have so much storytelling potential, why do so many of their movies feel underwhelming? First of all, the characters should be more thought out. Too many werewolf protagonists are paper thin, existing only to snarl at the moon. Without rich, relatable characters, the audience won't care about their struggles or transformations. Rarely do they ask, what does being a werewolf mean for this character? Then there are the visual constraints. Coming back to vampires, they are easier to bring to the screen than a werewolf, which is a more challenging endeavor. Practical effects like those in An American Werewolf in London are incredible but expensive, and not every movie pulls it off like Rick Baker did. It can look laughably cheap instead of frightening. It's no easy feat having it not look like a man in a rubber mask on stilts, but still more preferable than bad CGI. It's the kiss of death of werewolf credibility. Without believable transformations, the emotional and physical horror of the curse falls flat. The Wolfman, starring Benicio del Toro, has great practical effects again by Rick Baker, but the over-reliance on their dated CGI shots did the movie no favor. The third thing holding the back is tone. Werewolf films often get lost between horror, camp, and drama. Unlike vampires who can slip between gothic romance and action heroics, werewolves don't always find their tonal sweet spot. The result? Movies that feel neither scary nor emotional impactful. This is why An American Werewolf in London succeeded, because it breaks through all these obstacles. Genre blending is not easy. If you're interested in this topic, I've talked about it on the basis of Gremlins. So how could werewolf movies fulfill their potential? Let's get personal. Werewolf stories could dive into the mental health, trauma, and the fragility of the human mind. Imagine a werewolf who doesn't know if the wolf is real or a delusion. Think Black Swan, or better, Perfect Blue, but hairier. Transformations should be meaningful, not just a visual spectacle. They should reflect emotional turning points. Each bone crack, each howl should tell us something about the character's internal struggle, and it should be painful. Body horror meets emotional catharsis. Lycanthropy as a metaphor for marginalization? I'm surprised this hasn't been done before, for all I know. A werewolf movie could tackle societal fears of the other, while giving voice to those who feel like they don't belong. Enough with the foggy forests. Imagine werewolves in bustling cities, corporate offices, or dystopian wastelands. Each setting brings new opportunities to explore how the curse interacts with the world. And the heart of any great story is its characters. A werewolf protagonist should be as compelling in human form as they are in wolf form. Their relationships, fears, and desires should drive the story, making their transformations all the more impactful. Werewolves deserve better. They are more than growling beasts under the full moon. They are metaphors for everything raw, repressed, and untamed within us. While some films hint at the genre's potential, most werewolf movies fall back on tired tropes and shallow characters. But with a little innovation, werewolf stories could become something more. Mirrors of our own struggles, fears, and desires instead of schlocky monster flicks. So here's to the future of werewolf cinema. One where the monsters on screen are as complex and compelling as the ones inside us. Thanks for watching.